Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Prim's playlist. My name is Prim, and as per usual, I'll be taking a look at 5 underrated K-pop tunes and recommending them based on your music taste. First though, I'd like to thank you for your positive feedback on episode 1. To be honest, I was a bit worried about this podcast's formula, especially how short that episode was compared to the podcast I usually edit, K-Lounge with DJ Feltron. I'm glad that y'all like the short length. That being said, if you want longer episodes, tier-level donors to my Patreon get to request a song for me to review each episode. So the more donors, the more songs I have to add. So, shameless plug. Anyway, let's pull up the playlist. Song number 1 is Burnout by rapper Giant Pink, currently at 290,000 views on SM Town. Now, this is more views than the underrated songs I usually cover, but it has significantly fewer views than other songs on this channel, even by the same artist. So, even though it has more views than I usually allow, it's underrated relative to where it came from. With that said, let's break this song down. One of the most notable parts of this song for me is how it uses voices and voice-like synths in the instrumental itself. There's this medium high-pitched voice-ish synth that's introduced right at the start of the song, and it continues through basically the whole instrumental, only leaving during the chorus. And when it leaves, this super distorted, pitched-down rhythmic voice takes place just 4 measures later. These voice-instrument hybrids don't overshadow Giant Pink's voice, though. Her deep voice timbre actually sits right between the 2 voice instruments in pitch, so they complement her well. Also, I don't know if I pronounced timbre right there. Is it timbre or timbre? I can never remember. Anyway, even though the choruses switch to a much lower-pitched voice instrument, that high-pitched bass is filled in by a seriously awesome brassy synth, adding variety while keeping the song balanced in terms of pitch. Coming up with good comparisons for this song was tricky because nearly every individual instrument can be compared to a completely different song. The high voice-like synth reminded me a lot of Pop Stars by KDA, a promotional song for League of Legends, but the melody it took was more like the opening of UGG by BTS. The high-pitched instrument of the chorus sounded a bit like the one from Good Boy by G-Dragon and Taeyang. The list, it goes on. If I had to limit myself to 3 songs, though, I'd go with a combination of Hard Carry by GOT7 for the verse and chorus instrumental, Gucci by Jessie for the pre-chorus and general voice type, and Angsu Namum by Yezi for the distorted voices. So, if you like these 3 songs in particular, definitely give a listen to Burnout. Let's hear song number 2. At almost 3,000 views on Super Soundbugs, here we've got Pink Cheeks by Eldon, ex-lead singer of duo group Martin Smith under the name Junghyuk. Well, technically here we've got the lyric video for Pink Cheeks. The actual music video came out over a week ago and has over 19k views. But it's still underrated, and I want to talk about it, and it's my podcast, and none of you can stop me. Starting off simply with just acoustic guitar and simple percussion, the song later blossoms out into a fuller mix. I love how this song slowly combines this minimalist instrumental with more electronic elements, like those descending chimes that you hear throughout. It gives this song this kind of chill, lo-fi feeling that beautifully matches Eldon's really nice soft voice. Or should I say voices, because he completely changes his voice between the verses and the choruses, with the verses being in a lower register and his choruses being in a really high falsetto. I should also note, the song is almost entirely in English. It's not perfect English per se, but lines like "Sorry that I'm quick of foot, I'll walk your step" don't need to have immaculate grammar to evoke the emotion the lyricist wants them to evoke. Through the power of the general gist and the everything else about songwriting, they just do. The combination of acoustic guitar and electronic samples in this song reminds me a lot of a few B-sides on Twice's Twice-to-Gram album, Turtle and Missing You in particular. Though it also gives off some Luna vibes. The whole song generally reminds me of My Sunday off of Yojin's album, and this one orchestral sting in the second verse reminds me a lot of their Odd Eye Circle subunit's Sweet Crazy Love. And if you're a Western pop fan, the chorus melody combined with Eldon's falsetto seriously took me back to late 2000s, early 2010s CeeLo Green. Like the CeeLo Green I would hear on the top 40 radio station when I was 11 in the summer camp van on the way to a field trip. That's a really specific memory. Anyway, if you like any of the artists I just mentioned, go listen to Pink Cheeks. Let's move on to song number 3. Alright, here we have I'm Not Your Son by K-hip-hop artist DAMYE, about to hit 7,000 views on Stone Music Entertainment. Right out of the gate, the song hits us with a shaker percussion, mild guitar, and a vocal rhythm that contrasts heavily with the shaker rhythm. Then, the song explodes into a more unified rhythm, tied together with an airy, almost falsetto vocal style, and a harsh, loud snare. What stood out to me the most in this song, though, is the bass. It's a very wet bass, if that makes sense, and it jumps around in pitch a lot. This bass continues through practically the entire song and is really a key element of the song's unique vibe. And if you like instrumental effects that are like super unique, you'll love the final chorus. There's this overdriven guitar part put through so many watery EQs and distortions that it ends up almost sounding like an Animal Crossing voice grumble. You know how in Animal Crossing, like, it's not actual words, but it's just kind of like sounds. It really sounds like the guitar equivalent of that. It took me a while to place what this song reminded me of, but after a few hours, it hit me. Sewer rave. Yeah, it's not an episode of Prim's playlist if I don't bring up video games at some point, and like, I already brought up Animal Crossing, so like, Anyway, if you heard Lady Satan's iconic soundtrack to Sewer Rave, created by Autumn Rain, well, I'm Not Your Son would fit in perfectly. I couldn't find much else I could compare to this song, though that bass does remind me a bit of the bass in the beginning of Fingertip by G-Friend. It's a totally different vibe, though. Honestly, Sewer Rave's soundtrack is the only real comparison I can make, so if you want something completely different, go check out I'm Not Your Son. Next song, please. Song number 4 is Move Groove Smooth by J Black and J Pink, coming in at 72k views on Stone Music Entertainment. Now, J Black and J Pink are physically the same person, that person being the leader of dance group Pinky Cheeks and the ex-choreographer for Wonder Girls, Way to Flex, with J Black being the more masculine persona and J Pink being the more feminine persona. Credit to W Magazine for that, though I can't actually find them on Media Bias Fact Check, so who knows how credible this is. Anyway, what really stood out to me was the bass during the chorus. It's this dirty, crunchy synth that slides around in pitch, and when combined with the tape-unwinding vocal effects before each chorus, it kind of gives off this futuristic, grungy effect that you don't really expect coming after the club vibe you get from the first verse. And this isn't an anomaly. That crunchiness is turned up to 11 during the final chorus, which leads in with this droning, almost siren-y synth put through a heavy distortion filter. I'm talking like distortion turned all the way up. I'm personally a fan of a good harsh synth, so the combination of harsh synths and like the confident lyrics / general energy is like catnip for me. The current top comment on this music video states that this song is similar to Nails, Hair, Hips, Heels by Todrick Hall, and after giving it a listen, I totally agree, but it's definitely not the only song it reminds me of. This song actually gives me ITZY vibes in a way, especially Cherry and Wannabe. It must be just the general confidence through the song. I also get a whiff of No by CLC, especially during the verses, just from like an instrumental standpoint. And for all you gamers out there, that crunchy synth bass will take you straight back to Portal 2. So if you've always dreamed of an ITZY x Todrick Hall x Portal 2 mashup, Move Groove Smooth is the perfect song for you. Let's pull up song number 5. Last but not least, at 23.9k views on 1TheK, we've got Don't Look at Me Like That by CHO WON SANG, producer and bassist for the band Lucy. This song is certainly an interesting one, starting out with an intensely lo-fi, super distorted verse, then filling out into a mix of warm guitar, pizzicato stings, and Foley. This song samples sounds of like doors opening and closing and machines that I can't identify beeping, something that's rare but not unheard of. Notably, Bad Boy by Red Velvet uses a fair amount of Foley in its instrumental, most notably Footsteps, and many Western rap songs will sample police sirens. One of the most notable aspects of this song, though, is the heavy autotune. A lot of people don't like songs with heavy autotune, and, like, that's valid, everyone has their own tastes. But a lot of people believe that if someone is heavily autotuned, then it's, like, always because they can't actually sing or don't have talent or whatever, and that's really not always true. Looking through Lucy's discography, CHO WON SANG is a really talented singer, so this heavy autotune is just a stylistic choice that I think is a really unique and fitting choice for this song. It kind of adds distortion without actually adding distortion. You know, I'll be honest, coming up with similar songs for this one was really hard. I know I've been saying that constantly this episode, but a lot of unique stuff's been coming out recently, so just give me a break, okay? The best I could come up with is Cheerleader by Stella Jang due to its similar heavy autotune and warm tone, but Don't Look at Me Like That is a lot more chill and lo-fi. Cheerleader's a lot more upbeat. One of my friends also suggested Candy by Baekhyun as a similar song, and while the tones of each song are different, they do have similar beats, so that's a pretty apt comparison. Also, the sampled Foley and warm tone combined with the distorted effects, especially at the start of the song, remind me of the lo-fi chill hop songs you'd hear on Chilled Cow's 24-hour lo-fi live stream while cram studying. So if you're a fan of Cheerleader, Candy, or Chilled Cow, take a look at Don't Look at Me Like That. And just like that, those were our 5 songs of the week. I tried to choose as many different kinds of songs as possible, so hopefully you can find at least one you like. Don't leave just yet though, we still have to spin the wheel of segments. And this week's segment is 1 Year Later. 1 Year Later is a segment where, instead of analyzing underrated songs from within the last week, I analyze an underrated song that is exactly a year old. Or, well, as close as possible to a year old, since most channels don't post new music videos every single day. I say this because the song I've chosen was released on July 18th, 2019, which is just 1 day too old. With that being said, let's talk about 9am by Iki, coming in at almost 5,000 views on Super Soundbugs. Keep in mind this is 5,000 views over a year, so this is ultimate underrated. Iki, according to the comments section of this music video, is made up of 2 members of a boy group called AA, and this particular song was their debut as a duo. I would say this is a pretty strong debut. The instrumental is relatively simple, focusing mostly on standard band instruments like guitar and piano, while still having some interesting rhythmic elements going on in the drum track. The relative simplicity of the instrumental allows for members' vocals to shine. Seriously, I was floored. This also might just be me, but the melody of the song really feels like musical theater. If there was dialogue or something on top of the ending instrumental segment, I could honestly see this being the final number of a Broadway show or something. My only complaint is that this song seems like it ends too early. I think because the instrumental segment at the end sounds like it should lead into a third chorus, but then it just ends. Despite that though, this is a beautiful song and again a solid debut for this duo. Gonna further expose my nerdery here, this instrumental really reminds me of Odds and Ends by Rio featuring Hatsune Miku. I think it's mostly just the piano in the opening, the way that's composed, but I just could not keep myself from humming Odds and Ends over this song. I'm also reminded of Dive by Dalsubin, mostly because of a whole musical theater thing. Come on, I mashed that song up with that one song from Rent, for goodness sakes. Also, in Googling boy group ballads after this song, because if you know me, I'm way more into girl groups than boy groups, I came across Sorry by The Rose, which I think is a good fit for this song too, though a little bit more rock-based. So if you vibe with any of these songs, you'll probably like 9am. And with that, we end episode 2 of Prim's playlist. If you enjoyed this episode, check out the original songs at bit.ly/PMP ep2. That's bit.ly/PMP capital _ lowercase ep _2, the numeral. And if you'd like to support this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really want to go above and beyond, donate to our Patreon page for special perks. Links to those can be found at linktree/Prim's playlist. That's linktr.ee/PRIMMS PLAYLIST, all lowercase. Our podcast is a proud member of Studio 16. If you enjoy our podcasts, support us for free by joining our Discord server at discord.gg/6 capital R lowercase xw uppercase mg lowercase f. Thanks for jamming with me today.